Okay, this is the cutest lens I've ever seen. This one. This one takes the cake.
But God might be on vacation, and the promised land they ain't never promised. My baby telling me to be patient, but the devil always working overnight, my darling.
Good morning everyone, Gajan here with another First Impressions, and yes, it's been a busy week for the team at Fujifilm. They announced a bunch of stuff, including the new 27mm F2.8 lens that now has weather resistance, the Mark II version if you want to call it over the predecessor. Shout out to the team at Moment for letting me play and test drive this lens. Now, while this is a First Impressions, you better believe we have a full-on review coming in the near weeks around this. Now, I have something to tell you. When I first switched over to Fujifilm, the 27mm F2.8 was one of the first lenses I got. I got the 23 F2, the 27, and then the 56. And the 27, I ended up returning it. It just didn't impress me enough, and the lack of an aperture ring, well, it was one of those early reasons why I even switched to Fujifilm, was for that look and feel. So I ended up using it for a little bit and then returning it. It's always something that has enticed me, that has kind of called out my name in the middle of the night, but not enough for me to go out and get it. But with this iteration and being able to test it and where I am now in my photography, I gotta say, you're not really buying this lens for the focal length. And if you feel otherwise, let me know in the comments, because you will either prefer that 35 equivalent, 28 equivalent, or 50 equivalent. You never really see a lot of people clamoring for a 40mm equivalent lens. However, while the equivalent focal length here is not the most popular in the industry, this lens has a cult following, and that is because of its compact form factor. At, about 9 centimeters thick, this thing is super compact. And when you pair this with a camera like, well, the new XE4, you have a very portable solution that allows you to remain pretty discreet and keep shooting. And like I mentioned earlier, it's just cute. I mean, this thing is a little over 550 grams. It's super light. I hope I don't drop this because I didn't do this in rehearsal, but it's something that you just want to throw on, keep nimble, and keep shooting. And the visuals that you get from this thing incentivize you to keep shooting because, again, it's a little bit tighter than you would get from a 23 F2. But that being said, you still get an interesting composition with very fast focusing and great image quality. As the name would suggest, it is now weather resistant, so if I'm outside in a blizzard, I'm still able to get some remarkable shots and not have to worry about this thing crapping out. Also, the aperture ring itself is now adjustable on the lens, so you can switch it to the automatic mode and use the dials on the camera to adjust aperture, or you can do it right on the lens itself. When you look at Fujifilm's lineup of lenses, there's a lot of lenses that people would argue that deserve a version 2, such as the 35mm f1.4. But, when you look at the market and what is appealing to most people and what might incentivize more growth, this is a very fascinating lens because this pancake style, along with the visual quality, along with the feature set, weather resistance, and now having that, signature feature of an aperture ring on the lens with the markings, these are the kind of things that drive user growth. And a lens like this, now that it's also being part of a kit with the Fujifilm XE4, well, it grows the Fujifilm user base. And depending on how this does, maybe we will see some Mark II versions of previous lenses that many of us enthusiasts to pros really have grown to love. What I also appreciate, and for better or for worse, depending on where you fall, is that Fujifilm has not changed the optical formula of this lens. That is to say, if you have version 1 and you have version 2, the images you get are gonna look exactly the same. And this is something that you'd want if Fujifilm ever decides to upgrade their 35mm f1.4. I mean, that lens is magic, and if they're gonna update that, well, don't get rid of that. And that's something that some people, a small group of people, might be apprehensive to. But when you've created a ton of images, for those people that have the version 1 of this lens and created tons of great images, well, if you're gonna upgrade, you don't wanna lose that IQ. You don't wanna lose that look. And this lens definitely has a unique look, and it's something that longtime users that have waited for an upgrade will definitely appreciate. While the lens is a smidge heavier than its predecessor, it's still almost exactly the same dimensions. And when I was using it, man, it was just fun. It was just fun to have this thrown onto my X Pro 3, have this super compact solution that in some places, in some areas, was more compact than my X100V. And I really just enjoyed the damn thing. So I'm really excited to test this out even further and put together a full-on review. I'm gonna need a few more weeks to do this so we can shoot a lot of interesting content for this lens. But until then, check out the lens for yourself on the Moment shop and see if it's the right one for you. I can tell you right now, in my early testing, early results, you can't really go wrong if you are looking for a pancake lens. And that being said, there's not a lot of options out there, but it is good to know that the option from Fujifilm is really fucking good. It is something that focuses quickly, it is lightweight, it is now resistant to dust, rain, winter, witchcraft. Okay, maybe not witchcraft, but it is resistant to a lot of the environmental factors, and it is something that is quite affordable for those people that are looking to get into the Fujifilm space. And there you have it. That's my first impressions of the Fujifilm 27mm F2.8 lens. It is something that I am very excited to test out, especially for street photography, especially for some quick coverage shots and B-roll and video and that kind of thing, to see how it holds up. And I'll make sure to cover all of that in the upcoming review. And if you're interested in this lens, listen, go to Shop Moment, visit their link, support them for supporting creators. They have been phenomenal throughout all this, and it's something that if it's on your list, I think you're gonna really, really appreciate. Again, my name's Gajan. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.